Hey everyone, I'm Clayfect, and today it is time that we continue with our tutorial series and make a Tutootsie. If you want to follow along on this tutorial and haven't seen the first video where I make the base, then I would highly recommend you doing that before you get right back here to Fussy and me. But with that said, let's just get started, guys. Now, we want to make a confused Tutootsie today. So we are starting up by cutting up a ball of clay to make sure that the cheeks we're going to make is sort of the same size before we place them. Now, we are placing the cheeks a little lower than usual, and that's simply because we want this deer caught in the headlights expression. Fussy is going to stare into space not knowing what's going on. Or maybe he does know what's going on, but have got lost in the matrix, so to speak. Anyway, when the cheeks placed, all we have to do is smooth them down and shape them to our liking. When the cheeks are as we want them, it is time to press in the mouth, using a smaller ball stylist. Now I made Little Fusi's mouth sort of crooked and to the side to get that duh effect. And with the mouth sort of as we wanted, we are rolling out our very tiny snake of clay that we trace around the mouth in order to make some lips. Now it is very important to not go overboard here because it's very easy to make defined lips. So take your time and smooth it in the best you can and not go overboard. With his mouth as we want it, it's time for the nose, and we do that by pressing a clay ball in how we want the nose before we blend it in using a rubber shaper tool. But with the tip blended in, we are then putting on a longer snake of clay to give him a nose bone or nose roll, I don't know what you call it. But with that in place and blended in, all we have to do is poke with our ball stylist and slightly stretch the clay to give him nostrils. For the eyes, we want them as big and blank as possible. That is why we take a little snake of clay and trace it around, but only the very top part and the very bottom part. And when we are blending in the snakes of clay, we are also trying to open the eyes as much as possible. I'm using a soft rubber shaper tool. There is an affiliate link down below if you want any of the tools that you're going to need, and I will get a small percentage from that, guys, simply to buy more clay. Speaking of more clay, I actually went in using the same method as before and placed 2 balls of clay on to the front of the cheeks simply to make them more puffy looking and make him more blank and not knowing, so to speak. For the next facial details, we're going to give him a chin, and we're going to make the chin line up with the nose, not with the slightly crooked mouth. Simply again to sell this expression of complete confusion. And we're doing this by taking a little ball of clay and press it in and then smooth it again, just like with the nose, only simpler. Now for this expression of confusion, here is the most important part of it, because it's time for the eyebrows. And here we are taking a snake of clay and pressing it in, one in a neutral position, making it look relaxed and so on, and the other slightly curved, making it rise like he's raising one of his eyebrows in confusion. If we just raised the eyebrows in a neutral position, then he wouldn't look confused as much as he would look surprised or startled. So that is why it's very important to think of how you're going to position them in this case. But with the eyebrows in the position that we want, all we have to do is to smooth them in. And here I'm using a spoon tool and a rubber shaper tool interchangeably to get it the right expression. Now I'm all ears. Here's a tip to make a good set of pointy ears. You take a ball of clay and then you press it to your thumb and start squeezing the clay at the top of it, making this sort of triangle while shaping it around your thumb at the same time. And that's pretty much the trick. You just keep smoothing it and pulling it until you have the shape of a pointy ear that you want. When that is done, you just give the bottom a little squeeze like so, before we work on ear number 2 using the same method. With that done, all we have to do is cut the excess off the ears, and now they're ready for placement. Easy peasy. Now we just have to smooth the ears in and it's on to his hair. So for the hair, we're going to take some small sticks of clay and place it all around the edge of where we want the hair growth to be, so to speak. When we get this good grandpa look, then we continue on placing some other small sticks of clay on top of it, and we just keep going like that until we have a full head of hair. Now you can stylize the hair whichever way you want. I decided to go for a sort of scruffy look, meaning I bend the small snakes of clay in whichever way I want. And after that I use my rubber wool shaper tool to make some hairlines, so to speak. If you want sharper lines in your hair texture, then all you have to do is use a dentist tool, but I want to go for a more soft look. With his head done, it's time for his little feeties. And I'm doing that by rolling up a ball of clay that I cut in the middle to get roughly the same size of the feet. After that I'm shaping the feet as I want them, before I cut the clay to make some toes. Making sure there's plenty of room after the 4 cuts, so I have a big toe that I can then shape using the curved rubber shaper tool, only to go in after with my soft round rubber shaper tool to sort of blend it in all together. Now with the toes shaped as we want them, it's time to give his little footsie some nails. You can do that numerous ways. Either draw them on, use something sharp and pointy like a dentist tool, or like I do here, use a little round cylinder and just poke them in. When the feet is as we want them, all we have to do is squeeze them at the bottom of the figure, and he's ready for some clothes. Because we are tailors now apparently, we are going to cut some straps out of a thin sheet of polymer clay that's going to work as the trim around the clothes. With the straps cut, all we have to do now is just place them as we want them before we again cut them into the shape that we want, like so. Now we start with something easy here, making Little Fusi a simple vest, but you can use it in any type of clothing you're going to make for your sculpture. When we have placed the trim all around the body as we want it, all we have to do now is to blend it all together in the middle, so to speak. And just like that, we have our vest on Little Fusi. I just think it's so oddly satisfying to see a piece of clothing appear using this simple trick. Now it's time for the last details before Little Fusi can get his first bake. But before we do all that, we need to remove some fingerprints and so on. And there are many ways to do it. You can use baby oil, you can use clay softener, or you can do like me and use cornstarch here. It will make the clay sort of soft and velvety because it's sort of like you are sanding down your sculpture before it even baked. It's simply amazing and I love using this technique. You just put it on your fingers and rub it on to your sculpture. The only downside to it is that you need to paint the sculpture afterwards because it will leave some cornstarch residue no matter how hard you try. With Fussy getting his cornstarch on, all we have to do now is place a bit of baking bond, oven clay adhesive, before we take some tiny small balls and press them in, and after that use a ball stylist to shape it in again, simply to make buttons. When the buttons are shaped as we want them, all we have to do is poke 4 holes in each one, and then it's on to the tail, where we take a snake doodad thingy, curl it up, and then we press it into his buttocks, also using some oven clay adhesive because we have been using cornstarch. On the package it says to bake the figure for 15 minutes on 130 degrees Celsius. That's 275 Fahrenheit, I believe. But what I prefer is to bake them a little bit longer to avoid cracks and to make sure it's baked through. So I bake it on 120 Celsius, which is 248 in Fahrenheit. And then I bake him for 25 minutes. But with our little dude baked, all we have to do now is give him some arms. So as you saw me do, I cut down his wire to the length that I wanted for the arms before I started making this large snake of clay. I cut a Fussy arm's length off that piece of clay, only to cut that halfway through so we can sort of clasp the clay on the wire. Now, as I often say, one thing is have the facial expression as you want it, but you need also to have the body language to follow along with it. That is why we make Fussy's arms totally limp and slightly dragging on behind him, making him stuck in this pure state of confusion. But to get that body language, we're going to need hands. We start out pretty much as we made the feet, only we cut the French fry fingers a little bit longer. When you have made 4 fingers, just spread them out and start shaping them. Don't worry about the thumb, we will get to that. For now, all you have to focus on is making 4 fingers round. For the thumbs, we're going to roll out another snake of clay before we cut that into metal to make 2 equal sized thumbs. Now don't cut into a finger like I'm doing, that's just stupid. Instead, cut it on the table and then place the thumb you have made, like you see me doing here, slightly tilted. It will not only create a thumb, but also the thumb muscle helping along with the impression that it is a hand. Now all you have to do is smooth it in, a lot on the top side of the hand and not as much at the bottom side of the hand, and then you have a thumb. Just like that. And with our hand stunts, all we need to do is give him some fingernails. This time I'm apparently using a hole cutter, but like I said, you can use a variety of tools to make nails. But with his hands detailed as we want them, all we have to do now is simply to bend the fingers as we want them to, and then plug it on and smooth it out. Now with his arms and hands all done, all we have to do now is to make a thin snake of clay slightly flattened. Now this can be sort of finicky, but just take your time. You're going to trace that trim all around the shoulder, making the vest finally complete. With the trim as you want it, all you have to do now is to blend it into the rest of the vest. And it's done! We're giving the arms a little bit of cornstarch before the final bake, and that is pretty much it, guys. At least for now, though Paintfect is going to have her work cut out for her with painting this sculpture, but that doesn't mean we're not going to cheat and look at him like so. Isn't he just confused looking at him? I am very, very happy with him. If you want to see how Paintfect did her magic on this one, then it's going to be the last video of this Tutootsies series, so you have to wait for a little while. But I am very, very happy with him. I hope you like him too. He's a good addition to the Tutootsie family. And if you want to see one of the other Tutsie gets made, then stay tuned, because we have plenty of more to go through. But with that being said, it is time for me to sign off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. But if you can't wait until next time, why not click on the square to your right? Then you're going to see another little Tutsie get made. But until then, guys, bye!